Tonight, I'd like to talk a little bit about Kosovo, what's happening there, and what's happening with the NATO forces and the dispute that seems to be heating up between the Kosovo region and Serbia to the north of Kosovo. I'm going to start this off with a little bit of history of what was formerly known as Yugoslavia, as I think we need a bit of background to understand what's happening today. So Yugoslavia was formed in 1943 as the Socialist Federal Republic of Yugoslavia, and it was comprised of 6 republics that made up the federation. Those republics were Bosnia and Herzegovina, Croatia, Macedonia, Montenegro, Serbia, including the regions of Kosovo and Vojvodina within Serbia, and Slovenia. Yugoslavia was a communist state. However, it moved away from Soviet influence in 1948 and became a founding member of the non-aligned movement in the early 1960s, and from then adopted a less repressive socialist governing model. So the federation of these states was governed by the leader Tito, and in 1980 he died, and with that combined with the breakup of the Soviet Union led to an unsettled period and a period of time that became known as the Yugoslavia Wars, which were a series of wars of ethnic differences and independence throughout the 1990s up until 2001. Which saw the republics that made up Yugoslavia separate, gain independence. So this period of time culminated in ultimately the disintegration of what was the republic into 5 successor states, being Bosnia and Herzegovina, Croatia, Macedonia, Slovenia, and the Federal Republic of Yugoslavia, which was later known as Serbia and Montenegro, changing its name to that in 2003. So there's a little bit of background on the Yugoslavia, which is the region in the Balkans which comprises the states in which Serbia and Kosovo reside today, neighboured by other areas, Albania in particular, which plays a part in this discussion. So the Kosovo War, once we start to talk about this, which again is some history leading into what's happening today in 2023 in Kosovo, but here we enter a very complex period of history, which is soaked in centuries of ethnic and religious fighting and disputes over the area of Kosovo. Like many disputes in Europe, there are layers of time where different groups have controlled and thus claim ownership of an area. And Kosovo is like this, as many regions in Europe are. And to demonstrate the length of time this area has had dispute ongoing within its borders, the First Battle of Kosovo occurred in June 1389, when back then the ruling prince of Serbia marshalled a coalition of Christian soldiers led by Serbs and Bosnians, Albanians, Bulgarians, Magyars and Saxons. So this is back in the 14th century that the first war of Kosovo occurred. In more recent times, though, Kosovo gained autonomy in 1963 under Tito's direction. Then this autonomy was significantly extended by Yugoslavia's 1974 constitution. So here, Kosovo is a region within Serbia, but touching onto Albania and with a large ethnic Albanian population living in the region. The autonomy that was gained from the 1974 constitution after Tito's death was lost in 1990 when it was repealed by the Serbians. Or it was actually repealed by the Republic of Yugoslavia at that stage, and a push to assume Serbian control over Kosovo began. So what we've got here in Kosovo is an area which up until the 1990s is full of ethnic Albanians and ethnic Serbians, with Serbia on the north of the Kosovo region, part of Serbia, and Albania to the southwest. Then in the mid-90s and from the mid-90s, 1995 onwards, Albanians and Serbians who resided in Kosovo began disputes, and in February 1998 war broke out between the two. Then in March of 1999, Albanians that had settled in Kosovo began to be removed from Kosovo by Serbs and Yugoslav forces. So the Kosovo Albanians had a goal of combining Kosovo into a greater Albania, and the Kosovo Liberation Army, the KLA, became engaged in a war with the Federal Republic of Yugoslavia, which later became Serbia and Montenegro, who controlled Kosovo at that time. This dispute led then to the NATO bombing of Belgrade. In late March of 1999 and until June, NATO launched a bombing campaign over the Serbian capital of Belgrade. This killed an estimated 1,000 Yugoslav forces and up to 500 civilians. The result of this, the NATO bombing campaign and NATO forces in the Kosovo region in 1999, was that the Yugoslavian forces retreated from Kosovo, and over 160,000 Kosovo Serbs left Kosovo. So some did remain, but many left at that time. Also at that time, NATO presence was established and solidified there, with United Nations Interim Administration Mission in Kosovo. The UNMIK was installed in June 10th, 1999, and this NATO presence remains in Kosovo till today. Just as an aside, NATO's argument for the bombing's legitimacy, NATO described the conditions in Kosovo as posing a risk to regional stability, and as such, NATO and certain governments asserted they had a legitimate interest in developments in Kosovo due to their possible impact on stability on the region as a whole. At the time, the UN Security Council, a delegation there sent from Russia, Belarus and India to demand an immediate cessation of the use of force against the Federal Republic of Yugoslavia was defeated. But interesting that Russia, Belarus and India were the only nations of the United Security Council who voted for a cessation of this. It was defeated. But notably, the bombing of NATO in Belgrade did not receive UN Security Council approval, and questions of its legitimacy have lingered. So that, as some background, kind of brings us up to where we are today. So here today in late May of 2023, tensions are again rising in Kosovo. In 2008, Kosovo declared its independence and adopted the Constitution of the Republic of Kosovo. And while ethnic Albanians make up over 90% of the population of Kosovo, about 5.3% are Serbian, and they form the majority in northern regions of Kosovo. So in towns around the northern border into Serbia, that area of Kosovo, Serbians are in the majority. And now tensions have arisen, interestingly enough, in 2022, starting with the expiry of an allowance for Serbian-issued vehicle license plates to be used in northern Kosovo. And there has been on again, off again, it's been allowed, it's been disallowed, and problems with people from Serbia being able to travel into Kosovo because of their license plates not being accepted. So Serbians in Kosovo feel that they've been persecuted by the majority Albanians, because the majority Albanians, while majority within Serbia, Kosovo as a whole, are in the minority in the north. And yet, just recently, on the 26th of May, Kosovo took control of the North Kosovo municipal buildings by force, which was to enable a newly elected ethnic Albanian mayor to physically assume office, as they had won a 23 April local election. However, the election's not considered to be valid by many, as there was an extremely low turnout, which was due to an election boycott by the Serbian population. And again, the Serbian population are in the majority in this region. So in effect, the Serbians have said, we're not voting this local election, we're not voting for this Albanian mayor. The ethnic Albanians in Kosovo have said, fine, don't vote, we've had an election and we've got a winner, we're now going to put them in by force. And so this has led to civil disturbances occurring. And Serbia has put its armed forces on alert. And the decision, interestingly enough, the decision of Kosovo to use force to implement the mayor into this position in the north of Kosovo has been condemned by the United States and the EU. Now, this is interesting because in the past, the United States and the EU have very much supported the authorities of Kosovo. A NATO spokeswoman, Oana Lungescu, said on 27th, she's called on Kosovo authorities to take immediate steps to de-escalate tensions in the Serb-majority northern towns after security forces used tear gas and stun grenades to dispel crowds in 3 towns and enter municipal buildings in support of recently elected ethnic Albanian mayors. This unusual turn with the United States and the EU, in this case, condemning the Kosovo authorities for the steps they've taken to put their mayor in place, is leading to questions about whether the West's concern over the Ukraine and how its progress is going in the Ukraine may be leading to an unwillingness to see a second front occur or emerge between Kosovo and Serbia in the Balkans. There are reports in recent days that now show on social media violent protests in Kosovo. There are reports of protests in Serbia, with supporters in Serbia joining protests. There are street battles and footage of battles with the NATO KFOR, the Kosovo force, which is a NATO-led peacekeeping force, and their troops are their resources are deployed in Kosovo. The Serbian President Aleksandar Vučić said on May the 27th he's announced that his country's military remained on high alert and that he had ordered troops to deploy closer to the border with Kosovo. So this is heating up into possibly being a real conflict. In just the past few hours, Jens Stoltenberg, the Secretary General of NATO, has announced that an additional 700 KFOR troops are now being sent to northern Kosovo to reinforce existing KFOR forces. So this is worth watching because we can see that at the moment there is starting to be a gradual build-up of Serbian forces on the north of the border with Kosovo and of NATO KFOR forces on the south in that area there. And the US may be keeping a close eye on this themselves because, as I say, they may be unwilling to see a second front open up in Europe where they would have to commit resources and forces to this. However, there seems to be a desire from the Kosovo authorities to push this. So it's worth keeping an eye on over the next few days and weeks to see if it does calm down, or if either the Kosovo or Serbian authorities decide they have had enough and actually initiate some conflict. There's a couple of things. I'll just flick over here if I can. Yeah, a little bit of information about the NATO bombing of Yugoslavia back there. Have a good read. If you're interested in this topic, it takes a little while. It's very complex given the fact that you have the history of Yugoslavia with those 6 states and then devolving into 5 states and the independence and the wars through the 1990s. There's a lot of history there. This is the area that you can see. This is actually the previous, the former Yugoslavia as it was then. But Serbia and Montenegro sitting above here, above Kosovo. And there's Pristina as the capital there of Kosovo, and Belgrade up here in top of Serbia. And just a couple of shots of what's been going on the streets just this week. in the north of Kosovo, with Serbian protesters fighting the KFOR forces, and in some cases, moderate numbers of, it seems, NATO forces becoming injured and during these conflicts. Anyhow, that's it for today. I'll probably be back with more Ukraine-related information tomorrow. Please subscribe, and if you like this, go and check out my other channel, which is the Third Party Show. There should be a link to one of the videos up here if I can sort that out tonight.